Welcome, everybody, to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and we are sitting in today at the Nasir Harris Podcast Studio in the Somerdale campus of Central Penn College. We are very fortunate to be joined today by two newly crowned members of the SGA, the Vice President of the SGA, Max Thorpe. Max, it's such a pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And, of course, the President of the SGA, Nightly News veteran Brianna McCoy. Brianna, welcome back to the podcast.
Oh, hello.
So the first thing, let's start at the beginning, which is usually where you end up starting. What was it about the SGA? So let's just set up a little bit of background here. In December, there was an election for, that was in November, there was an election for the new SGA seats. Morgan Littleford, the former president, has moved on. She's graduated, and the vice president was Isaiah Scott, and he has also moved on and graduated. So the torch has been passed to Brianna and Max. So I want to first start off by asking each of you this question, and Max, I'll start with you. Why did you decide to run for an SGA office?
So a few months before, Bree came to me saying that she was looking to run and that she was looking for a partner, and she thought I'd be a good fit, and I thought this opportunity would be good to get more involved around campus. And I realized at the time that I had a lot of things that I envisioned that I wanted to happen on campus. So I really took it seriously, and I said, yeah, so I'll do it.
And it all worked out because you ended up being elected the SGA vice president. So you mentioned some of the things that you're looking for. Now, we will talk about what some of your goals now, but even when you were just thinking back and debating whether you wanted to run or not, what were some of those things that you envisioned?
Honestly, I just thought about how I wanted everybody to be represented on campus and off campus, I guess. I wanted everybody to be involved more because I guess we're a small school with a small population. I think campus involvement should be higher, and I wanted that to be a thing I could change. Looking back after I graduate, wow, I really made an impact. That's something I'm looking to do.
Well, when I had Morgan on last term, I mean, one of the biggest initiatives, and I don't know if you guys were a part of SGA at that time, but one of the biggest initiatives that Morgan had worked over in 2018 was the creation of the food pantry and also being in on some of the conversations that surrounded just food service here in general. And I even made that point to Morgan before she left. I said, no matter what, you can always look back at your time here at Central Penn College and know that you left some type of legacy. And the fact that food pantry is very successful at this point and it's going to continue down the road is something that she can look back on for many, many years to come. She could bring her future family back here 10 years from now and say, hey, I helped start this. And to me, you make a really good point, Max, because I think a lot of times because we're on a small campus, because there are fewer people on ground, I think sometimes the idea of the importance of engagement really kind of gets lost. I share this with my students all the time. You have to take your college experience and use that to build your resume. It's not just about the classroom. It's not just about the grades that you get. It's not just about the degree. It's about what else are you bringing to the table. And I'm telling you right now that being a part of SGA is one of the best things that you possibly can do at this point, because that's going to show leadership. And that's one of the skills that employers are looking for, without a doubt.
For sure.
So, Brianna, we've known you as part of the Nightly News for quite some time. You've been on many podcasts. You've started your own podcast. You're a regular on The Nightway. So we know you. Of course, we've seen you in many theatrical productions as well. What was it about SGA that really called to you? Why did you want to run to be SGA president?
Well, like you just said, last year, I was starting a whole bunch of new different projects and everything, right? Stepping out and speaking up and all this other stuff, right? So I felt as though, what's next? What's the next challenge I can take on? So I was like, and I was close friends with Morgan, the former president of SGA, and she was like, hey, take on SGA. I mean, it's pretty tough, she said, because, it's more of a job than managing a club. So I was like, well, I think I could do it. I like challenges. Let me take this on. And I did it. And now I'm SGA president. I'm excited.
And so by when we air this, you'll have had your first official meeting, and I'm sure you're very much looking forward to that. There's also some other people who are now a part of SGA. Do you guys mind sharing who else is a part of SGA at this point?
Cortez Harris and Connor Graham.
So we have 4 wonderful students who are here and are looking forward to some major things here in 2019. So the question now comes, Brianna, what are some of the goals that you have? Okay, so you knew that this was going to be an excellent opportunity, but what are some of the goals that you have to maybe push some of Morgan's initiatives forward? Do you have your own initiatives that you want to bring to the table?
I do. Like you said with the food pantry, we were going to start contacting different organizations outside of the school, so see if they can donate some food to us as well. And while also contacting them, I wanted to build a relationship with businesses in the community, so that way when students are ready for an internship or looking for community service hours, we have that stepping stool for them so they can just go right in and it's easy for them. When
we were covering your election, one of the things that you'd said was that you wanted to work with nonprofits. So you'd mentioned about the internships, and that's wonderful. But you'd mentioned about the nonprofits, and you'd said that you really wanted to touch base with some of these local nonprofit organizations as sort of the in-between between student and community service requirements. So as many of you listeners know, our associate students here are required to do 25 hours of community service. Our bachelor students, 50. Why do you think that was such an important initiative to not only work with local nonprofits, but then work with them to put students here in touch with them to get their community service hours?
I think it's important because I see that a lot of students don't get involved much, right? They feel like there's nothing to do on campus. And I'm like, so let's step out of campus. Let's meet everybody else. I was contacting multiple different organizations that's been here before on campus to use our facilities for different events they have. If we get them to come here and meet some of our students and some of our students to meet them, it'll be easy to create that bond so students can get off campus. And it's a good way to give back, to get involved and help others while helping yourself. So I felt like
I don't think there's any doubt.
Amazing.
I don't think there's any doubt that getting involved in our local nonprofit organizations is an important part of being successful in college. But we do have that graduation requirement, and unfortunately, now I'm not saying this happens often, but it definitely has. I've talked to students that are almost getting ready to graduate, hadn't even started their community service. So I think if nothing else, Brianna, and this is just a suggestion, and you can take it or leave it. I think if nothing else, hopefully you're shifting this community service more into the forefront, because for many students it's kind of on the back burner, and we'll get to that when we get to that. If you are proactive, especially with first-year students, then or maybe even bring some of these nonprofits into campus and actually let them volunteer with these places here without having to have transportation. But I think that that's wonderful, because if nothing else, you're getting out the idea that, look, we have to do this. Let's make it worthwhile. And I think that that's something very special, and I really hope, and if there's any way I can help you, I'd be happy to do so. Max, what are some of your goals that you have for 2019 as vice president?
Well, as we stated before, I think club involvements are, I think they're at an all-time low. Not an all-time low. I don't have the specific numbers, but we're at a low point for almost every club from what I've seen. So I know we're getting a good amount of people coming in, and I think it'd be beneficial if we could have at least one club made for everybody. Like I think nobody should be left out, I guess. And on another note, I think more involvement, like physical activity, I guess. Like I want to focus on being more physical, because that's, I guess, the person I kind of am. Both of my houses on campus, because I'm an RA, they both want to be more involved and have like a gym membership, I guess. I don't have anything in the works quite yet, but I think if we could get something along with the gym membership, where we pay half and they pay half, the school pays half, or we do it all, I guess. I think that's what I'm really going for, is something for all residents and all people that go to Central Penn, that they can go to the gym. And we have a gym here. It's just sometimes like for baseball, we want to go all lift at the same time. It's not enough room for all of us. And it's often that we all want to go be proactive together. I guess that's one thing I'm really focusing on.
Why do you think, or do you think, maybe is a better question, do you think that students know enough about clubs. I mean, I know we do the club fair. Do you have any suggestions for other ways that clubs might be able to get in front of some of these students to explain to them what they do?
So for student ambassadors, when I took over, I told Bree, my advisor, I was like, hey, right after club fair, the day after, can we host a meeting so that way we have a follow-up just to see like everybody who would come to the club fair, sign our paper, and see if they'd show up. And it actually turned out really well. We gained 7 people.
Wow.
And that's more than any other number like we've ever had. Like just one club fair, it took 7 people. And what I noticed from before, the club fair was there, and all people were just coming for was just to get a sign on the slip and get their free wings. So I mean, it just before we didn't have a good system in place, in my opinion. I do think the way we have it now is good, and that if you can have a follow-up meeting a day after or like 2 days after, so people are still it's in their mind fresh, you'll gain more people. Well,
what we found as the nightly news, and we're hoping that this is going to change, is there was really no convenient time to meet. Whether it was, we'd done 12:10 to 1:10, then people would have class, or we try to do it in the afternoon. Some of our members are commuters or worked. There was just no answer to when we could meet. Now that we all have our common time, yes, it's only 30 minutes, and yes, people have class at 1 o'clock, but you know what? It still gives everyone the opportunity to touch base each and every week. A lot of the things that we do as a club, now obviously we do get involved in the community, and we do fundraisers and things like that. We also, a lot of the things that we do are able to be done outside of the meetings. So even if you can't make the meetings, you can still be involved. And that's one thing that I've found that's really helped our club, is that we can kind of market that to either evening students or online students who might be interested in getting involved. Do you, as a group, Brianna and Max, either of you can answer this, have you found that do you have an online delegate for the SGA?
No, we do not. But if you know somebody, Miller, that'd be nice.
So basically, what we're saying is if any of our online students out there are listening to this would be interested in being an online delegate, could you just maybe chat with them about what that might entail?
Well, they would have to be active. Like, I know they're probably not within this area, but they have to be active in theirs. And to show people that even though they're not with the rest of us, they're still in the community trying to do things different, trying to make things happen. So be active.
Awesome. I do think that the online population is a segment of our student body that is often underrepresented. Have you guys thought about any ways to change that or to at least make what it is that you guys do a little bit more visible to our online population and let them know that, hey, they have students that are fighting for the issues that concern them too?
Well, yeah, we have our social media accounts where anybody from the school or anybody outside the school can check on it. We have, I know SGA has their own section in our Central Penn website, so they can see the things that we do. We also, Adrian has like a way to, Adrian follows everybody from the school, and she has these little, I don't know what to call these, alerts and announcements about what's going on this side of the campus and on Lancaster as well. So I think it's amazing how the communication works here. So there's no way you won't know what SGA is going on with SGA. I myself still post like different things on my own social media about SGA, and hopefully our other members can do it as well.
Fantastic. I know that you're getting ready to go to your first meeting today, and so maybe you might not have some events. But as we look forward to 2019, what are some events that people can look forward to from SGA?
I know SGA and Student Ambassadors is partnering on a trip to Round Top.
Okay.
We're going to probably look into fundraising because, I'm in both clubs, so we're going to look at how we're going to want to fundraise, whether that's, Dunkin' Donuts or sandwiches, subs, and I know that's one event that we have in place.
No events, but I do know that next month we will try to do something for Black History Month and Valentine's Day so we can get everybody feeling the love, the spirit on our campus, right? And students here on campus, I wanted to start with student activities. So I'm going to start with changing our ATEC dances that we have every term. So we were thinking about moving it to a place in the Harrisburg area called Club XL because they contacted us about a college night for different students in the area from any school. So we're going to start with that so kids can get,
get out.
lit.
Well, I think it's wonderful what you guys are doing. I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to chat about this. I just hope that in the long run, you realize the power that you do have. And I don't want you to think of it in that way, but you also have to understand that you're a voice for people who don't necessarily have a voice. And I know that our president, Dr. Linda Fedrizzi-Williams, typically makes it a point to meet with the SGA as well. So I'm sure that that's going to happen in the very near future. I would make sure that you do anything you can to get feedback from your students, whether that is simply sending out some type of survey, or whether it's printing out a survey and asking people in the Night and Day Cafe to fill it out. That's really where you're going to get a lot of really good ideas. And I'm sure Morgan has shared that with you, but that's where she got most of her really good ideas, was from soliciting feedback from our students. I would also make sure to chat with our evening students and our online students. I know that can often be a little bit more difficult, but one really good way to communicate with those people is through Student Central and Central Station, if there is a survey. Because really, our on-ground, our evening, and our online populations are all right about the same. About 300 here, about 300 here, about 300 here, and obviously that fluctuates. So each group in itself is an equal membership of our student body. So I just want you to think about that, because I think a lot of times when we're here on campus, we focus on campus issues, but that evening and online population needs to be heard as well. So, and certainly anyone out there listening, if you would like to be involved in SGA, even if you can't make the meetings, you can always contact Brianna, and you can always email me, paulmiller@centralpenn.edu, and I can get you in touch with Brianna about how you can get involved in the club. All right, well, we're getting ready to end the podcast. So I did want to just let everybody know that the SGA Club will be meeting Tuesdays at 12:30 in the courtroom in Bollinger. So if you'd like to go and see what they're up to, have your voice heard, you can do that at that time. Every Tuesday, 12:30 to 1 in the courtroom in Bollinger. Now, Max, before we get out of here, all this talk about new clubs, seems that you are the head of a brand new club here on campus, and I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about that.
So the new club on campus is going to be a CPC gaming, and it's really open to all the students off campus and on campus. I know there is a good amount of kids off campus, and we communicate through Discord, which is an app you can download, and we have our meetings Thursday. It fluctuates. We're going to start doing meetings like in the computer lab in ATEC 306, so we can start playing together. As of right now, we have 2 teams already made. We have a Tom Clancy Rainbow Six League against other colleges, and we have like 7 guys on the team. And then there's a Rocket League kind of group, I guess, so that they're going to start playing together. I know the Rainbow Six League starts in a month. We have a month to prepare against almost professional guys from other colleges like Arizona State, Michigan State. Like, there's big time schools, and we're kind of hoping that this team and this league kind of helps us get our name out a little bit more, because I know gaming is a huge thing into where we are today. And hopefully we can get more people that want to come here and play games. And it's not strictly just those games. Like, we're trying to get people to play FIFA or 2K or anything like League of Legends and any kind of game that you want to play. And I think we're going to start doing like an event where we can all play a tournament game, like, I don't know, like Super Smash. Like, that'd be something cool I think a lot of people would be interested in. Or we can do Madden, any kind of game that gets people outside the club inside to play, like anything.
I love how you're hoping already that you're trying to reach out beyond the club members, right? You're trying to get other people who may not be part of the club to be involved, and I think that's really excellent. Who is the advisor of the club?
Steve Shoemaker and Ben Lipschultz.
Okay, so could I have anybody that's interested contact Steve Shoemaker?
Or me, yeah.
Okay,
you'll see.
I'll put the emails along with this. One final question before we get out of here. What does it mean to you to be SGA president, Brianna?
It means, like you said, being the voice of the students. And you know me, Miller. I love to voice my opinion, no matter how gruesome it may be. So, and I love to help others. I like to sit and listen and then speak up for you. You know, some people don't, like you said, don't have the voice for themselves to speak up and speak about problems that they don't like on campus. So, hey, come to me. I love to fix problems.
Max, what does it mean to you personally to be the vice president of SGA?
So before, I've really never had a chance to take everybody's opinions and like express them. Like I had my own thoughts. I've seen it from baseball, all athletic sides. Like I've seen it going here, and I know what it's like. And I realized that since I am now the vice president, like I can actually make a change. I can actually take somebody's opinion when I hear something bad about like they want this to change. I can actually take that and expand on it and help them and make students more comfortable. And that's all I've ever actually really wanted. It's just to be helping people.
Well said. All right. Well, we talked about a lot of different things today. We talked about the run for office. We talked about some goals that Max and Brianna have for 2019. Brianna also shared with everybody there's going to be tons of events. There's going to be a Student Ambassador SGA trip to Round Top coming in the very near future. And anybody who wants to get involved can certainly contact Brianna. I'll put Brianna and Max's contact information. But if anybody wants to get involved in SGA, they can come out on Tuesdays at 12:30 to 1 in the courtroom in Bollinger Hall. We're looking forward to a wonderful 2019, right?
I definitely am.
Let's kick it off.
Well, I'll tell you what, honestly, from the Nightly News, I would like to congratulate you guys on being the brand new SGA president and vice president. We look forward to having you guys back down maybe sometime over the summer and talk about where you're at so far.
For sure.
Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, so for the new SGA Vice President Max Thorpe and for the SGA President Brianna McCoy, this is Professor Paul Miller, and you've been listening to the Nightly News Podcast. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Brian Christiana. Thank you for listening to the Nightly News Podcast, a part of the Nightly News Media Club here at Central Penn College.
Welcome to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and we have a full house here at the Nasir Harris Podcast Studio at the Boyer House of the Summerdale campus of Central Penn College. We are welcoming a returning guest, Tom Palmieri, the college counselor here at Central Penn College. Tom, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
And we are also being joined by two new interns here in the counseling department. We have Chloe Pittinos. Chloe, welcome.
Hi, thank you. It's nice to be here.
And we're also joined by Monica Goodfred. Monica, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Well, we have a lot to talk about today. Number one, there's all kinds of new programming here at the college coming out of the counseling center. We want to talk with Tom about, if you ever have any trouble or you need to speak with somebody, how you can go about doing that. But really what we want to hear is more about the interns and Chloe and Monica and what they've been up to so far in their time here at the college and what they have planned going forward. So we look forward to an action-packed show today. Well, first, I'm going to start with Chloe. Chloe, from what I understand, you are finishing your master's degree in clinical mental health counseling at Messiah College, and you hold a bachelor's degree in English and psychology from Auburn University in Alabama. I guess my first question would be, now, are you from this area? Let's start there.
I'm sort of from Alabama and Pennsylvania, so I spent a lot of my youth in Mobile, Alabama, at the very bottom of the state. And then from high school onward, I spent most of my time in Pennsylvania, except for college.
Interesting. So what are the big differences between Alabama and central Pennsylvania?
Whew. Well, right now, temperature is probably the most apparent difference.
Of course.
No snow down there.
Never?
No. If they get half an inch of snow, it happens once every 20 years. The whole city shuts down. They have no snow plows. They don't salt. People are sliding off the road in half an inch of snow. So,
very interesting. And looks like we're looking forward to some more snow here in the PA area in the very near future. What was it about this area that because, you're from Alabama. How did you end up here?
Well, I have family who are from here. So my grandparents were here, and my mom moved back here. And it's just such a beautiful place I wanted to come back to. And came back after college and just ended up staying.
Fantastic. So there's a couple things here that I want to chat with you about individually. Most recently, you've been working with individuals recovering from substance abuse and addiction. And another very interesting thing is that you've been doing Tai Chi for nearly 20 years?
Yes.
What is it about Tai Chi that interested you so much that you've been studying for nearly 20 years?
Where can I start? There are so many different aspects to Tai Chi. It's sort of a way of moving that's based around the way the body is designed. So when we practice Tai Chi, it sort of straightens out all of the bad habits that we lay onto our bodies throughout the years, like slumping. When we slump over, it helps us learn to stand up straighter, relax our shoulders down. So it kind of helps us get in touch with when we're experiencing stress in our body and to recognize that and then let it go.
Now, do you believe that working with Tai Chi has helped you in any way in terms of a mental health perspective?
Definitely. It's great for self-esteem. It's great for learning to be in front of other people, performing physically, to talk in front of other people. There's also sort of a philosophical component. So thinking about balance both literally, physically, learning to balance, correct any balance issues that we might have. Also thinking about balance in sort of a mental health way, that it can be a process that's ongoing as opposed to a point that we achieve. So instead of just one point where I've achieved balance, we can think of balance as an ongoing process where we make little adjustments here and then little adjustments there. And that way we recognize that there isn't a final place where we get to balance and stress ourselves out because we realize we're not at that point yet. But instead, we realize just making little tweaks here and there to have balance in our lives.
Awesome. I love that. One final thing before we come over to Monica. You enjoy mushroom hunting. Tell me about this.
Yes, this is great fun. There's a local club that goes out into we go often to state game lands, or sometimes there are residential properties where people will let us go. And it's like a big treasure hunt. Sometimes you know what you're looking for, and the mushrooms may or may not cooperate. Sometimes you might get something totally different from what you're expecting.
I love them too. It's not something everyone loves, which is I always found interesting.
There are about 8,000 species in Pennsylvania. So you never know what you're going to find. And they all look different. They all do different things. There are purple ones, red ones, orange, pink. There are ones that bleed blue if you break them. There are ones that glow in the dark.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Pennsylvania one of the largest producers of mushrooms in the United States?
We are, actually. Yes, that's a specialty of ours.
I think that's fantastic. Now, the one final question about mushrooms. The old wives' tale is don't go picking mushrooms because they're poisonous. How many of them are poisonous, and how do you know if they're poisonous? I mean, I guess if you know what all the different ones are, but has that ever been an issue you've run into?
You definitely need to know what you're doing and go with somebody experienced. It's great to join a club if you're interested in something like that, because there are a few that are poisonous. Not that many, but you don't know which ones, especially when you're starting out. And some of the poisonous ones can look like some of the ones that are safe to eat. So it's definitely good to be cautious. There are old mushroomers and bold mushroomers. So better to be a safe mushroomer.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to come over to Monica. Monica is completing her master's degree in mental health counseling from Messiah College and is set to graduate in May 2019. So, of course, we'll give you the early congratulations.
Thank you.
You hold a bachelor's degree in psychology from Campbell University in North Carolina. And during that time, you've had some experience serving a military clientele. And you've worked with individuals that have been trying to cope with PTSD.
Yes.
Now, my first question is going to come from that PTSD angle. We know for years that PTSD has been something that our troops have suffered. Yes. Why is it only recently that this has really come mainstream for people to understand that this is a major problem?
Well, recently, I think, just with the amount of troops being deployed the last couple years and the presidency that we have now and all of the upcoming things that may or may not happen, we have more awareness of it because more people are affected, which means every time somebody is affected by it, we have a good chance of having some kind of contact or connection with that person. So I think as it becomes more mainstream and more talked about, we're starting to accept that it really has kind of been a thing for quite some time. It's not a thing where only a few people suffer, but a lot of veterans do. And there is a saying, it's 22 a day. And that is 22 veterans a day commit suicide. And a lot of it is because the resources for counseling and to address this trauma just are not there. So that is something that I am really passionate about, and I really do value my work with that population because it is very much needed.
Without getting into any kind of political discussion, do you think that the government supplies enough resources to the troops coming home, or do you think that that's something that's maybe filled in a different way?
To answer your question in short, no. I personally do not feel that the resources are there. I do have connections with military. I actually am from a military base, Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. And so pretty much all of my good friends, my hometown friends, people from high school, are all military, my family members. So I know firsthand, or I guess secondhand, how much help is needed and how much just is not available. So in short, no, there's just simply not enough.
So what are some of the things that you have been able to do in your work with some of the military men and women that you've found to be most effective? Or are there some things that maybe people out there who might be struggling with this, some things that they might be able to do to help out, if they don't have those resources?
Sure. Absolutely. The first thing I want to point out is just saying to yourself, I might need to go see somebody. I might need to, reach out to either myself, Tom, Chloe, if you're on campus or off and you're a student, or services and mental health in general. If you're willing to reach out, help will be there for you and the support will be there. And I know a lot of people feel like they might not be supported or understood. And as counselors, that is our goal, is to make sure that our time with you, you feel like you are supported, and we are going to teach you the tools to go ahead and go forward. Another component in counseling in general and mental health for everybody is self-care and figuring out what works for you to feel better and relieve some of the stress and the burden. And so kind of a cool fact that I don't think I've shared with many people yet is I have a military service dog that is retired, and he has a little bit of trauma and PTSD, so he is now a therapy dog. And I don't know that he'll be here on campus in some of our sessions, but just pet therapy and having your animals and getting outside, that works for a lot of people. It's not the only thing, but it's something you can do every day.
Absolutely. Monica, I have a question for you because I see that you've also been part of a therapeutic team in school settings with children and adolescents on the autism spectrum.
Yes.
I don't know if Tom has shared this with you, but last time I had him on the podcast, we spoke about my particular situation. I actually have a 19-year-old son who is on the autism spectrum, and he is my best friend in the world. I love him to death. He's a wonderful kid. He works at the Silver Spring Diner, and but we are to the point right now where we are kind of at a crossroads because he's 19 years old. He's able to go to school till he's 21. Mm-hmm. And it's at that point where we really don't know what his future's going to be like.
Sure.
What impact does it have working with children who are on the autism spectrum and inherently their families that probably have a lot of questions and often not a lot of answers?
Right, and that's like that for a lot of disabilities, not specifically just autism, but with a lot of things. But I still work while I am in school and finishing up this internship here. And so I still work with that population. And something that is really interesting, if you've never met somebody that's autistic, or they are the raddest, coolest kids
Hunter's
that you
awesome.
could, Hunter, very cool, that you will ever meet. And it's almost like when you're thinking something that you want to say, but you know is not appropriate and you shouldn't, they're probably going to say it for you. So they're kind of cool to have around. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and that is something I deal with. I work in the home, community, and school settings with the families and the caregivers, and the plan for a lot of families is that after a certain point, they really don't have a plan, and it kind of is, in balance and figuring out what happens, and it all depends on like this domino, chain reaction. But autism kids are so cool, and I love working with them because they actually teach me a lot. I know the families are thinking, I teach them a lot, but they teach you a lot about compassion and things that you won't learn from a textbook, that you can't really learn unless you have a one-on-one firsthand experience. So I would say the best advice I can give is just be your advocate for your own child and understand that as a parent or a caregiver or guardian, you have the right to say no. If you don't like something, speak up and say, hey, this is not going to work. Here's why. Here's what I want to see happen. And just really fight for them when they're not able to verbalize or fight for themselves.
Well, I appreciate those tips. So, Tom, I want to bring you in here. Let me first ask you. So, the last time that we had you down, this was prior to you having your interns, and you were talking about all the different things that you had planned. And I said to you, I said, how in the world are you going to be able to do all this? Has a little bit of a load been taken off of your plate now that you have to find interns joining you?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been, for me, I'm able to take a breath because, like, I recognize that, like, there's other people on campus to provide support. Like, we even had a situation last night. Monica and I were scheduled to present in a class. I had a student emergency that happened like literally 15 minutes before I was supposed to step outside my door. So it was very reassuring to me to know that even though I was delayed in my arrival, that someone is able to be there. Even later on in this week, both Chloe and Monica are going to be doing some stuff while I'm not physically able to come to campus. And so for me to know that I have two professional, reliable folk that can meet the needs of the campus community is like gigantic. I'm going to have them talking about some of the groups that they're going to be doing this term. We had Chloe's first one yesterday, and and you can probably speak better to this, Chloe, what it was like to kind of share some of the work that you typically do with adults with the college population and kind of how you saw that.
Let me set this up. So what Tom's referring to is each Tuesday, Chloe is going to be facilitating a weekly wellness group for students and staff that's Tuesdays from 12 to 1 p.m. In the dance studio. So can you share with us a little bit about what that wellness group's going to be about, people who might be interested in coming? Sell them on coming.
Sure. Well, we're holding a wellness group, which will be focused around Tai Chi, because that's sort of where I live. That's what I know and love and am super familiar with. And using that as sort of a broad framework, and then also bringing all different kinds of wellness in, be it mindfulness, meditation, thinking about balance. We might get into nutrition, healthy thought patterns. It can be all different kinds of subtopics that we bring in and talk about. And so it can be also, we can incorporate the ideas that the students might really like to talk about. So if they have something they'd like to bring in that's been helpful to them in their own personal wellness that they might like to share or to find out more about.
I love it. Monica is also working on programming. Monica will be running a grief and loss support group for students on Wednesdays from 3 to 4 p.m. That will temporarily be in the Milano Museum, but we talked off air, and eventually we'll be moving to Bollinger 59, where your offices will be, sooner hopefully rather than later. Monica, can you share a little bit more about what this grief and loss support group would be, and share with us, an example of maybe a student who might want to join, or situations they might be going through?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So when you hear grief and loss, it does not have to be where you've already lost somebody or something important to you to come to the group. If you are in the process of, going through it with a family member or a loved one or somebody you care about, and they, might be passing sometime sooner than later, or even if they are, really, really ill, I invite all of you to come out to my group, and it will be a little bit different each week. And I kind of want my group to be involved. So it's essentially your group as students. It's your group, and I'm just going to be there helping you kind of run it. So it will be a safe space for you to kind of let out the thoughts and the emotions that you might not want to in your room with your roommates or with family, or speak about, in any other time besides that. So it can be from the loss of a pet that was really important to you, that really might take the place of some people, or if that's your best friend or a parent or a sibling, and it might not even be somebody related to you. And going back to the military can be a good friend or someone you've only met a few times that is just kind of sticking with you. So we all have something we've been through. We all have something we're going through. And so this is just going to be a really healthy way to talk about those things and learn to cope with them without forgetting about your studies and everything else. So I'm hoping to give a lot of good information and tools and resources.
And I'm glad you brought that up as well, because we do at Central Penn College have I don't want to say a majority, but many of our students do come from a military background. We definitely serve our military men and women, and I think that this program that you have is going to speak to a lot of our military students that we have.
I'm hoping so. And those, the group is open for any student, but it would be great to have some military personnel in there as well.
Well, Tom, one of the goals that you'd had previously when I had you down was to develop some new programming. So we've got Chloe working with her weekly wellness group. We have Monica running with her grief and loss support group. I know you're also doing some things around campus with some different programming. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, we have a couple of irons in the fire right now. So we are in the process of developing some content that's going to be for our online students. We actually had a meeting earlier today about how we're going to try to collaborate in some cool new ways now that I've been here long enough and have gotten over my own technology anxiety around everything. We are still presenting in classes and are going to be holding different workshops on campus. We're going to be crashing a few club meetings in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be doing some training for other staff about, what mental health looks like on campus. Because a lot of times when you say mental health to somebody, you get this image that's really hyperbolic of someone who is doing something dangerous or doing something unsafe, but that's not really what it looks like. You made a comment before about we have a lot of students with military background. We have a lot of parents that are students.
Without question.
Yeah. We have I'm not sure of the official stat, but I feel 80-something% of our students are working a full-time job while they're in college. So we know that mental health doesn't look the same from person to person. We know that there are so many factors. So my hope is that being able to kind of grow the office will just allow people to maybe learn something a little bit new about themselves, learn a little bit something new about how you might connect with the classmate, and just recognize that even after you're done at Central Penn, that's going to still be a part of yourself that you're going to need to be mindful of and care about, because there's the dividing line between our mental health, our physical health, our spiritual health, our educational health, and our career health. It gets blurred so quickly. So really taking care of that, and especially for us at Central Penn, those 11 weeks are fast and furious.
That they are.
And my biggest advice for new students, I said this at orientation the other week, is ask for help early, ask for help often. Our ability to help you at week 3 when this will be airing is much, much greater than our ability to help you at week 10. So please use us. Find us on Blackboard. Hit that the student resources tab, and there's a lot of great information under the counseling services page. You're going to find the contact information and pictures for all 3 of us. You are going to find a little video about welcoming kind of Chloe and Monica and reminding you about kind of when some of these groups are going to be. I have announcements on there for different stuff that we have scheduled on campus. We're going to be having chair massages, the therapy animals coming back, and a couple of other little surprises that we're going to sprinkle along the way. And that's true for the Summerdale as well as the Lancaster campus. You're also going to find a little scheduling tool so that you can reach out to me and I can connect you with whichever of the 3 of us I feel can provide the most support. Much in the same way that you're going to be able to find a tool on there where if you're concerned about a friend or a classmate or another student, don't feel like you have to keep that to yourself. You have enough happening as students. Give us something to do. The other thing that you're going to find on there are some resources, some 24/7 resources, and you're going to find an online self-assessment. So if you're kind of noticing some stuff and you're not 100% sure that you want to talk about it, but you'd like at least to learn a little bit more about what's happening in your mind and your body, you can take a free and confidential assessment. I do not see what people's results are. You do not even put in any identifying information there. You literally click on the link and start answering the questions, and you get some information about what some of those symptoms could be. And sometimes people then take that and reach out to one of us, or sometimes people take that and then they maybe seek supports outside of here. But counseling at the college is free as long as you are taking at least one class. It doesn't matter if it's on ground, it doesn't matter if it's at Lancaster, it doesn't matter if it's online, if you're taking an internship, that counts as a class, or if you're taking a capstone, depending on if you're in a program that has that, you're able to work with us. We are here every single day of the week. On Mondays, we are here at Summerdale from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then I go to Lancaster on Mondays from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. On Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we're here from 9 to 5. Thursdays this term are our late evening, so we're here from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then Fridays, we're here from 9 to 4 as well. So you're always able to access us. And I've been joking with people since Monica and Chloe started this week that if I was able to make it work with just me, I know I'll be able to make it work for people with 3 people now.
Awesome. Well, to point out, Tom's office is in Bollinger 57. Chloe and Monica will be in Bollinger 59 soon as your office is completed. You're welcome to stop by at any time. You don't necessarily need an appointment during the winter schedule. It does help if you have an appointment, but that's not necessarily needed. So how long will you be here?
We'll be here until May, I believe it's 11th or 10th, whichever the Friday is.
It'll be May 10th, the second week, and May will be here.
And then you'll both be graduating.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then maybe staying here, maybe going back to Alabama. Who knows? But honestly, Chloe, Monica, Tom, thank you so very much for joining the Nightly News Podcast today. I am going to have all of these links accompany, because I write up a little article that goes along with this. I'll have all these links that will accompany this podcast, and I'm going to do anything I can to at least get the word out about all the wonderful, not only programming that you're doing between Chloe's 12 to 1 on Tuesdays group and Monica's Wednesdays 3 to 4 group. I'll have all the information. I'm going to try to get as many people there as I possibly can, get the word out about all the wonderful programming you guys are doing.
Thanks so much for having us.
All right.
Paul.
Well, hey, thank you very much. Chloe Pittinos, thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're very welcome. Monica Goodfred, it's such a pleasure to meet you. Welcome to campus.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And for Tom Palmieri, the Director of Counseling Services, thank you all very much for being here. This is Professor Paul Miller, and I will catch you next time on the Nightly News Podcast.